meeting. If you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Nate, would you lead us in the invocation, please?
Sure. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you that we have the freedom to assemble and we've done so willingly. Thank you that we have the ability to gather and sometimes disagree and still have the same goal. Ask you to watch over us tonight at our meeting, that we come to an agreement, that we be in one accord and have peace as we meet tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. So first on the agenda is our special presentation or request. Chief Mills is going to introduce us to the new police officers.
All right, here, Shed. I'll get you to it in a minute. This is one of my new officers, Shannon Skeens. Shannon's probably got, how many years you got? 24 years. I come from Russell County. She's going to be a great asset to not only the town, but to the new officers that I have, with the knowledge that he has. We went to driving school together many years ago, so I know a little bit about him. He's got a son that's SRO in Russell County, and been an instructor. Hopefully we're going to get that back for him. You got some other certifications, don't you?
Yeah, basic SWAT. I used to be in the SWAT team, U.S. Marshals, Fuses Task Force, a little bit of everything, CTAC, just crisis intervention, field training officer, quite a bit more.
But I think he's going to enjoy it here, and hopefully he'll stay for a while and finish out his career. So that's what we're hoping for.
Absolutely.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Don't go too far. We'll get pictures after.
Okay.
All right, Megan, come here. This is Megan Kittle. She's one of our new officers too. Megan comes from Bluefield, has some ties here in Tazewell. She's got a couple years in corrections, so she knows a little bit about the ins and outs of course, the jail and the corrections part of it. So Megan's going to go in January to the academy, so we don't burden the town with trying to put too many at one time. But I think she's going to do well. She's very knowledgeable, very personable, and I think she's going to be a good job.
That's Bluefield, so she left the dark side. So.
But I think she's going to do well.
Welcome. Happy to have you.
Mayor Stacy. This is Stacy Whitaker. Stacy's lived in Tazewell off and on for a while. She lived in Richlands, now Richlands area. She's going to the academy actually next Wednesday. She's got 2 kids and very, very enthusiastic about getting in law enforcement. We interviewed her back when?
May?
We interviewed her back before that one, maybe April, I think.
April.
Yeah, and we had some openings at the time, and we had chose to take somebody with experience. One of them, I think, was Shannon. But she hung in there and she stayed with us, and I think that she has shown that she has the willingness to do whatever it takes to do this job, as far as physically and also learning the job on the job training. I think she's going to be a great asset to this police department for years to come.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Also, these officers plus the other 2 that I got have been very, very involved in our community service program that we have ramped up for since the first year. As you all know, we have replaced 5 officers since first year. That's hard to do, and I know Jonathan can tell you, it's just, you don't get really the quality of people that sometimes you're seeking. But I will not go back to just settling for anybody. We're going to pick the people we think is going to be able to serve the town of Tazewell and whoever comes to the town of Tazewell. But I think we've got a great group of young men and women that will carry on for several years.
Great. Great.
And I also want to thank the council, Todd, Robin, and pudding for the increases that we've had in our budgets for the last couple of years that have helped us bring these kind of quality people to us. I greatly thank you.
Come back up, we'll get a picture right quick, and then you can go protect and serve. Any way you want to
Whatever I want to, don't matter. Somebody on that side of the hill, come on. There's more than one. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so next under special presentation, Appalachian Voices, Amanda Killen.
Thank you, Mayor. I know you guys are all familiar with me and the type of work that I do, but tonight I'm here on behalf of my new role with Appalachian Voices. In April, I took the role of New Economy Program Coordinator for the 7 Coalfield counties in Southwest Virginia. And I wanted to give you guys a little bit of info about the New Economy Program with Appalachian Voices and what our objectives are. We aim to support coal-impacted communities in their pursuits of economic and community development efforts. And so what I do is I go into a community and help them with technical support, grant writing support, and project management support at no cost to the community. We are funded by private donations. We are funded by other grant opportunities that we have sought after and successfully were awarded. So a few months ago, Todd and I began having conversations about pursuing a community block development planning grant for the area of Riverside Drive and North Castle. I've included a little bit of information about that in the papers that I handed out to you. That is administered through the Department of Housing and Community Development. And you guys probably heard us talk a little bit about having the folks from DHCD here to do a site visit back in June. That was very productive and I think very fruitful. We saw some tangible things come out of that. You guys are going to hopefully be able to take advantage of some funding resources that were identified through that meeting. So in pursuing the planning grant for the Riverside Drive District, it's very community involved. We have to do a community listening session. We have to document that. They really take into account your community engagement. And so we're holding a community listening session on July 27th at 5:30 at the Tazewell train station. And that is open to everyone to come and provide input on things that they feel need some focus. And will hopefully allow us to gain some direction on our narrative portion of that grant application. So I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed on that and explain to you why you're going to see a community listening session in North Tazewell coming up soon, hosted by Appalachian Voices. We're also bringing in some other partners, Tazewell Today and the Southern Appalachian Mountain Stewards are helping us facilitate that listening session as well. Please feel free to come. We would love to have you there. And I would lastly like to ask for a resolution in support of this community block grant, because that is a requirement that I always wait until the last minute and then I have to scramble and email Robin and beg her for forgiveness in having to get a last minute resolution.
So since one's not written, will we have to wait till next month?
Now, we got plenty of them written, but we still have to wait till next month. We don't have it here. We can duplicate one of them.
One of many.
Yep.
Does anyone have any questions?
What's the grant due?
It will provide a complete assessment of the area.
And when is it due?
When is it due?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It is due in September. So it opened in July. It's due, I think, September
got time.
23rd. Yes, we have plenty of time. Yes.
We're just going to be happy.
Yet to be determined, but more than likely from the corner of Tazewell Avenue, right there at Lilies of the Field, on down to the next block.
What was the date again on the listening session?
July 27th at 5:30.
27.
That's going to be on the train station.
Man, that's
Listening station.
At the train station. And we'll be sending out an email to everyone. Our communication team is working on that right now, and you'll probably see it advertised in the paper as well.
It'd be great.
Okay.
Well, good job.
Thank you.
You'll be back.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Any more questions? Okay. All right. Thank you.
So So next on the agenda is the new business recognition, Miss Scarlet River College. David and Ramona Simmons.
We had to take this Scarlet out. The Scarlet is my granddaughter, and we are opening a bed and breakfast on Riverside Drive, 999 Riverside Drive. We've been self-employed farmers. I'm a realtor, and this is going to be, we hope to help with supplement our retirement. So I appreciate you guys. This is super nice to be, I've been in business for several years, and the town council has never recognized me, so this is nice. But thank you all, and hope we can be an asset to Tazewell.
Well, we have party gifts.
All right.
We always do. See, not only do we bring you in and recognize you, we give you stuff. And we take your picture.
Well, that would be done without.
This is Town of Tazewell's coffee mug.
Okay.
And here's the Town of Tazewell.
Okay, thank you.
And there's our flyer. Well, thank you very much for opening my picture. All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the council meeting on June 13th, 2023, and a special called work session on June 20th, 2023. Can I get a motion to approve? You make the motion. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approval of minutes, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, state so by saying nay. All right, so minutes are approved. Next is the approval of the financial statements and the financial report for June 2023. I need a motion to approve.
Motion.
I get a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approval of the financial statements and financial report for June 2023, state so by saying aye. All opposed, state so by saying nay. All right, financial statements approved. So next is the committee conference updates. Councilmember Davis isn't here. Do you have anything, Chris?
Yes, last night we had a meeting on substance abuse clinics and private solar energy facilities that we're going to go over here shortly to try to put in the industrial zone.
Okay, so we'll look forward to that. So next, unfinished business, the old bowling alley recommendation from IEDA and Manager Day.
Okay, those minutes are not ready, so I'm gonna do my best to go by my attendance and my memory. It's not what it used to be, but council voted at the last gathering to allow the IEDA, who actually owns the property, to come back with a recommendation on how to utilize the bowling alley. And the recommendation was discussed at their last meeting, and what they decided to do was to take advantage of Karen, I think that was her name, Karen?
Karen, yeah.
Yeah, Karen Weber with DEQ, and they have a remediation, asbestos remediation program that comes at no cost to the taxpayer. So that's going to obviously take a little time, but to remediate the building, and then what they want to do after that is try to solicit some type of invitation program. And I don't know what that's going to consist of yet, but I know that's kind of the direction that they're wanting to go in. So I may have left something out, but basically that's the route. So the demo of the building for right now is off the table. Obviously, if you proceed forward with that, we'll have to re-advertise it.
Who else is asking for that bowling alley? Anybody you know of?
I've not had anybody in the last 5 years asked for it. I don't know. We've been around that thing a couple times.
Can't believe when somebody offers $25,000 starting out, at least we make it something to be take the bowling alley. And really want to do.
I understand. I'm just following council's directions.
I think a piece of that meeting, so a few of us sat through that IEDA meeting with the DEQ, and it's basically to facilitate the asbestos removal, to leave it in the IEDA hands at this time. It's kind of the understanding of that.
understanding I had, that she did the whole thing, plus 25,000 to hand to the manager to get something started. Because nobody had been sitting there for years.
It's the same process. The same thing would have to be done with asbestos remediation, right? Is that the term?
Yeah.
Would have to be done no matter what. It's just,
That's what they were going to do. They were going to move and do everything.
well, now the
Well,
DEQ's gonna do it.
the town was going to do it.
Now, it's DEQ, and they come in and remove all this stuff. Is it right for the person that offered the 25,000 right off the bat? Nobody else is asking about it, except that one person.
I can take that request to the IEDA. I don't have an answer to that, Mr. Fox. I don't, as I stated, the direction was the IEDA's direction is to use Ms. Weber's program with DEQ to remove the asbestos from the building. After that, they're going to seek other opportunities to try to capitalize for the community and the town on that structure, but I don't know to what degree yet.
And I just think that, somebody offered 25,000 right off the bat, take care of everything. If you don't mind going and asking about it, because it's not fair when somebody already offers 25,000.
I'll be more than happy if you'd like to take it back to the IEDA.
When do they meet again?
They meet the first Monday, is that right?
First Monday,
Every month.
and our council meeting is next Tuesday, on Tuesday.
Not that, but yeah, following Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to take it back to them if that's canceled there.
So that's the
I
seventh.
believe that no matter what happens, we need to work forward and get the asbestos remediated. So if you want to take it back to them about what happens with it after that point, I think that's okay. But for whoever takes it over after this step, I feel like we need to go ahead and do this step to work towards progress.
So we were in a position where we had like $76,000 on bid, where we were going to pay for all that to be done. DEQ can remove a portion of that responsibility for us. So it would save money.
As long as
After that, then they have the opportunity to do that. So it's a cost-saving thing.
Well, it is. It's cost saving for everything.
I think,
She offered, and nobody else is having even think about offering. And I don't mind that. It's not right. It's not fair.
I don't-
Somebody gives you the 25,000 to take care of everything, but I know DEQ will come in and remove everything. Then it goes back to where?
So it never leaves the IDA at this stage. So it's their property. We can't really dictate to them what they do with their property.
That's sad. It's not
I think that
right.
there's
It's
an
not-
incomplete
it's not-
understanding of the
I know,
process.
it's not fair. I understand what's going on, but it's not fair. It's
Well,
not fair to do this
there's-
when somebody's already asking for it.
I hear you. Ms. Weber, when she gave the presentation, there's a useful slide at the end of her slide deck that demonstrates the timeline and how that would be affected. I think that that's a piece of information that would help clarify what's occurring.
No one is telling anyone that they can't have anything at this point.
Well, I'm all for the one that offered the 25,000 and go ahead with the operation. And I hope the AEDA would, I'm not threatening them, I just want them to realize
August 7th.
if I come up and say, Todd, I got $25,000 here and I'll take care of everything on the bowling alley. Am I right?
that she would take care of the remediation of asbestos. She'd use the same program too, by the way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't care if John Doe walks in the council and already offered some money. We should look into it and say, okay, let's just go with it. Then it's going to help us.
So that was,
It'll help us in the long run, really. It will help us in the long run. I know, I should have been at that meeting, but I didn't know about
But
it.
Dave, excuse me, I was at the meeting, and what the situation amounted to was that the majority of the IDBA chose to postpone any decision about where it's going to end up. They're going to accept the free remediation from the government. And that was going to happen anyway, but who's going to have the building after that is not decided.
Well, I think he's in IDA to offer.
Majority rules.
Well, how, where's the majority? Well, oh, wait.
I'll take it back to him, Mr. Fox, for you. I'll absolutely take it back.
Okay.
Just be there on
You-
the step.
May I speak, please?
Yeah, come on up. Go ahead.
I'm the party that's involved that offered the $25,000 for the bowling alley. And I was at both meetings. I was at the IDA meeting. I was at the meeting down on Riverside with the DEQ. And whether the building, and I get to purchase it for $25,000 or not, the DEQ is going to pay for the remediation, the removal of all asbestos, whether it's mine or whether it's the IDA's.
But it comes back to the IDA, refers to.
Right, it has to be serviced through the IDA, but the IDA basically doesn't have to fool with it if it's a private entity that owns the property.
I understand it.
My problem is, if we are going to try to renovate North Tazewell and go with this renovation program that Amanda's speaking of, and trying to get a community block grant for everything, we can't wait 9 months for the IDA to go through all this remediation and then post bids and then do this. You're just stalling the project.
That's it. I'm just trying to.
Thank you.
I'm just, okay, we talked about it.
Go to this
You
meeting
two
on the
were
step.
on the IEDA earlier, before to become council members. I can understand that, but daggone it, that's just not fair for people in our town when they offer money to purchase. Nobody else, I've heard that they will purchase the property. But I'm telling you, I'm asking if you would still look into it. This is not fair for the people in this town. I mean, you could offer somebody, if I came in and offered $75,000 and she's already put her offer up, she should bid first and take it. I know, it's going to be.
I'll take it back to him.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Manager. Thank you.
All right, moving on to new business. We have a donation request for a no-off season. Manager Day?
Okay, you've got a local, I guess it's a softball, indoor softball. You've got the letter in there instead of being redundant. They're requesting assistance to help offset rent payments. And they've got a number of kids from here. To say what that exact number is, I'm not real sure, but they're just asking for some assistance. And I told them I'd get back to them. That doesn't mean you have to evaluate it tonight. I'm sure that any assistance at any time would be appreciated. So if you want to table it to a more conducive atmosphere to discuss, I can do that too.
So here's my concern on the request is the items that are listed that the donation would be supporting. So it's giving a nonprofit help with the utilities and new equipment. And the only piece that I would need better understanding on in order to support an action like that, I don't have good awareness on our track record with how we support local businesses in purchasing equipment and offsetting utilities. I know that we got like incentives like that for new businesses with the IDA. So this time I would need more clarity on what specifically the request is for, because new equipment and utilities is not clear enough.
Okay, well, I can write back to her and follow up. Like I said, there's no real timeline. Assistance is assistance. They've been organized for quite a few years, so I can write back to her and try to ask her to be a little more specific. No problem.
We'll just go ahead and table this.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so next on the agenda is budget amendments. Ms. Regon. Good.
I have wrote you all a nice book of 13 pages. If y'all would like to skim through it, go through it, that would be great. All it is just to realign the budget. There was a few items that had went over budget, and I have repurposed the funds that were already there to just get us back in balance. And this has been one of our audit recommendations, and that's why I'm bringing it to you all.
Let me elaborate on that just a little bit. I'm sure each of you had an opportunity to look at your financials. And I've always said the two best sets of financials that you'll ever look at are December's. And obviously halfway through the fiscal year and at the end of the year. And you can obviously tell that in all three funds, we came out in the black, extremely heavy in the general fund, but don't let that fool you. There's numbers in there that foresaw grants that didn't materialize, that artificially inflate some of that stuff. So, but with that being said, it's not illegal to run line items over budget. It's not against any Gatsby rule to run line items over budget, but what we try to practice doing is cutting it off throughout the year instead of a department head looking at it and say, oh wow, it's over budget, and then at the end of the year me scrambling to try to find ways to bring fund balance back into line. So obviously you're going to have a pretty heavy fund balance transfer this year, close to $500,000 unencumbered. And I wouldn't look too hard at Bill's tax, even though it's heavy. That probably will not sustain. The DDOT increase will sustain, and that will only grow annually. I've never seen them reduce that in 20-some years of management. But don't overthink the blessing of inflation on this budget, because it is heavy. So with that being said, Puddin has spent an astronomical amount of time taking on duties to strengthen her skills and her ability to manage as treasurer of that department. So every one of these line items you see in here, they're not newly created line items. They are line items that ran over because of inflation, overspending in the department, unforeseen expenditures, etc. So there's no new line items. We're not creating anything that you haven't already been aware of. Everything that council has approved is still above board and very transparent. So with that being said, like she said, she's got a few pages of them, and you're fine to take and vote on that at once, or we can spend the next day or two going over them individually. So
that request to do this process and making the budget amendments, I remember seeing it in I think it was the end of last year's audit report, where when
2021.
When they came in. So we've done this for 2 years now, and when we make these adjustments, so I guess in a perfect world we would be in a place where what we budget at the beginning of the year is pretty close to where we are at the end of the year. Through this process, are we getting more accurate in our initial budgets to where, hopefully instead of 13 pages, I know that it's a large business, it's going to fluctuate. Sure. Do we get closer to refining our budget to where we're not making so many amendments?
Sometimes. Some line items you can do that, but you can take any line item that you've got, and I can take a shot at it. It may hit, it may not. It's just an educated guess.
Right.
I think sometimes you got to take into account emergency things.
Right.
I don't something to break down.
But to answer your question, yes. I mean, some of the line items, obviously, but you can see some of them are extremely high this year, like sales tax. I think I missed real estate by $20,000. I don't remember what it was, but it's a hit or miss. But to answer your question, absolutely, yeah, sure. It's not every one of them.
Right. But it gets closer.
And by doing these budget amendments, that audit comment's been removed.
Right. Nice.
Any more questions? I just need a motion to approve the budget amendments.
I will motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the budget amendments, stay so by saying aye. All opposed, stay so by saying nay. All right, next is approved rule development resolution for funding and code of conduct for new police cruiser. Manager Day.
Okay, every year that we apply to the United States government for funding, y'all have to approve them giving us free money. So you would think that they would just proceed forward with that, but we do this every single year. So Mayor, I can read it, or
Motion to approve accepting free money.
My second on that.
I think we have to read it then by process. And then we'll vote on the approval. Todd, if you want to.
yeah, the governing body of the town of Tazewell, Virginia consists of 7 members, and a duly called meeting held on the, what day is today?
11.
The 11th day of July, 2023, at which a quorum was present, resolved as follows. Be it hereby resolved that in order to facilitate obtaining financial assistance from the United States of America, United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, the government, in the purchase of police vehicles to serve the community, the governing body does hereby adopt and abide by all covenants contained in the agreement, documents, and forms required by the government to be executed. Be it further resolved that Todd Day, Town Manager, Town of Tazewell, Virginia, be authorized to execute on behalf of the Tazewell Police Department the above referenced agreement, documents, and forms to execute such other documents, including but not limited to debt instruments, security instruments, and/or grant agreements as may be required in obtaining the said financial assistance. This resolution is hereby entered into permanent minutes of the meeting of the board of the town of Tazewell, Virginia. I just need a
Motion to accept free money.
Second the motion.
Any discussion?
Let's back up for just a minute. Brandon, I just need a motion to accept that
Resolution.
that
Motion to accept the resolution.
yeah. Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor of approval of the resolution, stay so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, stay so by saying nay.
You've also got a code of conduct. Code of conduct, you need to vote on no employee, officer, or agent of owner shall participate in the selection, award, or administration of a contract supported by rural development funds, and the conflict of interest, real or apparent, would be involved. The above code of conduct was approved at a meeting held today, 2023, and blank members of the town council were present, which presented a quorum. A vote was held of the resolution, and the resolution was adopted by a vote of so many yeas, so many nays, with blank abstaining. Yeah, it's got to be unanimous, so it doesn't pass tonight because we have 2 missing. So I just need a vote to approve the code of conduct. Need a motion to vote.
Can I get a motion to approve the code of conduct?
I'll make the motion.
Second. Thanks. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the code of conduct, stay so by saying aye. All opposed, stay so by saying nay. Okay, so that's approved. So next is an update on solar farms. Leeanne and Chris.
Leanne and Chris have learned a lot about solar farms.
All day long.
So before the meeting, I handed out a little kind of cheat sheet. And I tried to make it simple where we can understand, because it gets a little confusing. So solar farm. It's a lot of solar panels placed together to generate energy. Solar panel energy is made from the sun, so the more sunny days you have, and the more sunny hours you have, the more energy it's going to make. Energy is measured in watt hours, and I kind of give you a little diagram on how much energy is made from watts to kilowatts to megawatts. And the reason that that's important is because the Virginia Code says anything that is under 5 megawatts is exempt from personal property taxes. They would pay real estate taxes, which would be assessed at a commercial rate, but they would not have to pay any machine and tools taxes on those panels. If the solar farm produces 5 megawatts or more, they would be paying personal property taxes. However, there's exemptions. The first 5 years, they're 80% exempt. The next 5 years, they're 70% exempt. The next year, like each year after that, it would be 60% exempt. And that's on your personal property tax for your panels, your actual equipment. However, this is something we've kind of learned today. The town could adopt a revenue share ordinance. And that would mean it would exempt the personal property tax on your panels, on your equipment, and that company would pay $1,400 per megawatt per year. So if that company made 5 megawatts per year, per year, it would pay $1,400 per year on that 1 megawatt, so it would be $7,000 in tax revenue. I have gotten to be friendly with several people from Spotsylvania County, Halifax County, Isle of Wight, and I've learned that they don't speak Appalachian. So I had to Google Alley Wright. I'm like, I've never heard of that county. It's Isle of yeah. So I'm learning, but this is what we have information on as far as what tax base a solar farm could bring if one came here, and we don't have any type of application, but it's been discussed.
Inquiry. Somebody else would be owning the land, and another company would be running the solar panel farm. So it's good.
And the solar panels, it's my understanding is something in there, mercury or some kind of a...
There is several heavy metals that are in there. So if a solar farm was to try and come in, we would need to put some disposition, like dispose of, once their lifetime is over, we would need to make sure that we made that company responsible to take care of removing them.
So, the SCC, anything over 25 megawatts, the SCC regulates public utility. We're addressing private solar farms.
And with private versus public, if it's over 25 megawatts, it will be governed and assessed by the SCC.
So about 2 months ago, the fire alarm went off in my office, and I called a meeting of all my department heads, which is literally all my department heads, including Brad. Brad came down, and the urgency of that, as manager, I sit back and look and say, well, there's a revenue stream, but what I'm more concerned about is looking at our political jurisdiction full of glass and nowhere for you to shop at, no business district, nowhere to expand at, nowhere for home construction, nowhere for our economic growth to be at. So I'm not in a position to say that I'm fighting it, but I'm really putting up a good front that I am. But we're just trying to educate ourselves, and it looks like that every time we think we've got it, there's a change in a law or there's a change in a code that comes up. But My objective, probably a little prematurely right now, is to absolutely try to stop it inside our political jurisdiction, along with one other type of industry. So, but when we do it, we want to be educated about it. And it went before the Planning Commission last night, and they actually were a little more aggressive than I liked it, that what I was. But I think it's, to know that there's a capital dollar to be made in your private sector, it's pretty aggressive. It could happen overnight if we don't do something to stop it. So, yeah, I mean, so we just need to find a way to regulate it. Well said. So,
Now, again, this don't affect houses.
Right.
It's just the big solar farms.
So our constituents would see no benefit from having the solar panels there?
No.
well, unless they want to do it commercially. Like, for example, and I'm going to speak real loose, but it's my understanding that the county is evaluating it on a positive picture.
I could foresee something like that being out in the county. It's a lot more dispersed, there's a lot more land. You put something like that in town.
I think there's another incentive there that they're working on. So, that's my view of it. The same view stood true with storage building. And right now, until we put the overlay in, and I think our overlay is still really, really loose, and we'll probably end up in court before it's over that. But you take Matt Payne's facility out there, his shopping center. If he wanted to, he could build a house in the middle of it. To me, that's ridiculous that our code book allows that. And I've attempted that to fix it a couple of times. It hasn't been really aggressive yet, but to allow homes in your business district, for some reason, just doesn't settle well with me. Maybe somebody can shed some light on that. To be able to.
It's nonsense to do a house for business.
Yeah, and there are some there, I mean, we're getting off on another tangent, but anyway, the whole idea with solar farms is to try to alleviate them so that we have a future area to expand and grow.
Which zones would this impact? I don't think I quite captured that.
We have the substance abuse, which he'll touch on next, and the private solar energy facilities will be in the M1.
M1.
Which is not much real estate there. We can't zone them out, so we're giving them a place to go.
Planning Commission's recommending a place.
Yes. Okay. So they're is it currently established as M1, or are they recommending M1? Recommending.
The agriculture has the public utility in it. That's what I mistakenly told the person that they could do it at first, and Brad straightened me out.
You ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
So next, methadone clinic discussion.
Okay, I want to say before I even get into this, I'm not a doctor in any way. I don't practice medicine, and I don't discondone medical practices. I don't have any background to do that. I do have a knowledge of methadone clinics and the atmosphere that's invited around them. I'm well versed in that from other communities, and so I think it's another area where we're required, maybe by law, Brad chime in, that we need to provide an area.
I just think you need to be proactive. There's not a requirement. If it's going to be something that's allowed, that's going to be pursued, you need to be able to address it proactively. rather
Yeah,
than
so-
reactively, which is what's happening in counties.
There's a lot of state laws that says there's state law that says you have to be so many feet away from a daycare or school. And we've been fortunate in the past to be able to work those lines. So,
There's not much we can do, I mean,
well, what we're trying to do is provide an area for it. And I can't help if there's a daycare, if there's a school, or if there's other facilities, but, in talking to the medical profession inside our political jurisdiction, and I've had a number of conversations, we just need to do what we can to try to,
there's one up there in Murray's office, is that where the,
Yeah,
and they're trying to do down in here?
It's also
box and box.
a little different.
It's still, under this definition,
Yeah.
includes this thing.
Yeah.
Facility, treatment facility.
They drink their methadone before they get out of the parking lot, and they gotta go 10, 11 miles down the road, and they're all over it.
I'm skating a little bit, John. Help me out here.
I'm against the issue, but, it's by law.
It definitely has a lot of increased risks
Yeah.
associated with it.
People usually come from long distances to these places.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they come real early in the mornings, more prone to have accidents. Sometimes they hang around longer and find things to get into. I know when I worked the county, and then John can tell you, we had a lot of shoplifting cases because of this kind of facility in our area.
DUIDs is what I got.
Now, you may talk to somebody in the medical profession and they totally disagree with that, and I totally understand and respect that. I'm speaking virtually on my experience with communicating with my fellow associates across the Commonwealth.
There's two viewpoints.
Yeah, absolutely, it absolutely, well said.
But it's a public safety reason.
Do you know, is just a methadone, is that inclusive enough? Should it be methadone, Suboxone? Is there any
It's the same classification.
What is in the ordinance as proposed is just a substance abuse treatment facility, so it's a pretty broad stroke there. It could be alcohol, it could be opioid, it could be any number of. That's at least what's recommended. I'm just not saying it's, you all have to move it toward a public hearing to see whether or not it's going to be adopted or not, because right now it's just considering the state.
That's all I've got. Man, it's just those two issues, on solar, and.
But no matter what, we need to set the public hearing, right?
You need to set a public hearing, and I might have been out of line by putting methadone on the agenda. I apologize for that, and I can make a correction there. But it is a range of,
perhaps for you, Chris, in zoning, another renewable would be wind turbines. I can't imagine that there's the demand. I know that there's one on top of like the Down Rock Mountains where they tested for that once. Perhaps for the council members, is if we're being proactive in setting the zoning, is that something that should be considered as well?
absolutely, we can look at it.
Is there a county ordinance against?
Here,
It was a county ordinance.
it was tried here, they don't want it.
Yeah. I'll look and see what it is in the county. I don't
remember
know.
voting on that one year.
I know at one time it was stopped. I took a lot of trips with Dave Anderson and various ones in the county, and he's on board certified.
I can't remember if that referendum was specifically for East River Mountain or if it was countywide.
I'll have to look into it, but that's a good question. Yeah.
I think it was county.
It was countywide.
It was countywide.
That worked out.
I can't remember, but I'll report back. I'll find out and report back. It might be that we're already covered. So
Okay.
I
that's a good
remember
question.
way back that this place was flooded and the county was flooded. They didn't want this thing. The farmers came in here, didn't want it, because it caused a lot of damage and birds and trees.
For some reason, all the landowners that it was proposed on wanted it done. I don't understand.
Well, that's, but I heard what they said.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
And some did, some didn't, but I don't know.
That's all.
Well, it's the law, it's just, I don't know.
Okay, so next on the agenda is to set a public hearing for August 8th, 2023 at 7:15 PM to amend existing ordinance to allow substance abuse treatment clinic and private solar energy facilities with a special exemption permit in an industrial general M1 zone. Do you have anything to add, Brad? Do you have anything to add? Your name?
No, I think just what you have there will encompass enough for the advertising. I'll get together with Rob and specifically advertise. It's pretty straightforward, actually. You're just adding 2 uses with special use, or special exception permit, limitations on that. So even though you've got the particular use, then there's still going to be control through the planning commission. Somebody comes in and says we can't do it, the planning commission would recommend it. It would have several different criteria, and then also have to be renewed every year. So it's a fairly narrow, it's an allowable window, but it is a narrow window for both opportunities. That's the way the planning commission requested that be prepared.
Okay.
Well, I have to notify everybody in M1.
Yes. Yes, you will.
Do we have a map? I don't think it's in our draft.
Shouldn't be too big.
It's, if you go with
25
it's right there in the hall. It's basically Walnut Street Industrial Avenue. So it's got the industrial park right there to the southwest of Lincolnshire, and then you've got where Kelly Kids is Walnut Street.
All the way.
About Regon's place and Clinch Valley Printing. And those are the 2 industrial zoned areas in town. Yes.
Okay, so I need a motion to set the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Just a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the public hearing or setting the public hearing, stay so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, stay so by saying nay. All right, so that'll be set for the next council meeting. So next is the set Lincolnshire Lake fishing hours, Manager Day.
Okay, I had a request to reevaluate this. It was looked at in 2018, and I don't remember everything that took place. I do know that the concern was obviously the misuse of the facility in the dark, which is typical anywhere. But the only concern, I talked with the mayor earlier today, that I would have was we've got inflatables on that lake, so I know it's everybody else is concerned too. But insurance was an issue, and I know that DML is not going to, or VACO, they're not going to stop you from doing it. And obviously, if you file an incident, and I don't foresee none, but there's a lot that could happen. I don't know if anything ever happened at Cottage Creek at night.
Do they have lights out there?
That's all.
Do they have lights around the lake up there?
No.
No.
If it's dark, it can be up there.
Well,
There's a lot of meanness goes on up there at night if you leave it open.
Oh, I know this, before we get to gates, a lot of problems. But, what's the county have on insurance wise?
The insurance company is going to cover it. They're not going to add anything to it. They're not going to take away anything. But just like your home insurance, if you file something because of an incident, and I can't imagine what it would be out there unless a vehicle flipped over the dam from four-wheeling into the lake, but that would be their own.
Somebody drowned out there.
Yeah, that would be their own liability. So I honestly can't tell you a reason that insurance would go up.
This was brought to my attention because a citizen asked if we could mimic what the county does at Lakewood. Because for certain months during the year, they're open for overnight for catfishing.
They got a lot more lights. They got lights.
I don't have.
They don't have that.
Here it is.
Do y'all, Jonathan, y'all ever have it?
No. And actually, if we have any problems with people not fishing,
He was,
I think we should at least entertain the chief of police.
well,
Have
sure.
to work with us and leave it
Like
there.
that. Now, my fishing buddy, he's gonna get the head.
My recommendation, I don't like it. That's just plain and simple. If you want to open it up for like a tournament or something where you have people up there to watch or make sure nothing happens, that's different. But just to carte blanche it open, I'm not a fan of that. We've had a lot of vandalism up there at the park at night.
I think the difference maybe, we have camping. They're there camping, so we don't have any issues probably because of that.
We've got a handful of cameras up there, but they don't look at the lake.
I remember when I was working for the town, the gate was open because they already had a break-in into the office and into the pool area. And we had to open the gate to get in, and we decided to leave the gate open for a while. Well, we caught 4 of them running across the dam, and got up there and got one of them. I mean, it's a situation we don't know, but
I think it may be useful to look at possibly doing like one night a month, one weekend a month, to where, you give people the opportunity to do that, but it's a more controlled environment. I mean, I think that's worth looking at, to not, I hate to shut it out completely, because I know that, there is a lot of people that want to do that, but,
I would say
if you do it,
there's some inherent reasons.
you have more, self-policing.
Night fishing is a lot of inherent risks. I mean, I've done a lot of them. My days of, people stop around, fall on the boat and drown. That is a risk. So it should.
Well,
and Brad, his one brought up the reference to the insurance issue. 2018.
That's what I did, yeah. I said you definitely need to look into it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Todd has. It's not like you have to have a separate
the insurance company doesn't like the skate.
What?
The insurance company doesn't like the alcohol. They're an insurance company, so. They're gonna obviously caution you against stuff like that, because they don't wanna pay the.
They don't pay claims.
They don't wanna pay claims, but if we take the right precaution with signage, that doesn't mean we can't get beat in a situation, but we should have a lot of protection if we have the right signage up. I've been sued and in court how many times over frivolous stuff, but if the right signage is there.
Well, there's a way that, somebody don't like the option for it.
Why don't you do like a night where you set up to where you're gonna have like a tournament, catch the biggest fish, see how many people is interested. Because I really don't hear a lot of people that are interested about fishing tonight up there. I just don't. I mean, I'm not out there actively trying to find people either. But I don't hear people telling me that they want to fish up there.
I don't know fishing up there dark. We didn't, when that last man,
Grandma.
right. I went ahead and he let us fish till 4 o'clock in the morning, just locked the gate back up. We locked the gate going in, we locked the gate, open the gate and locked it going out.
So Mayor, I think what the county's doing is June 16th to September the 30th. You've heard comment, you want to open it up for a motion, or see if that's what you, or do you want to just have a couple of tournaments a year?
Council, I don't fish, so.
Well,
I think,
summer and fall.
so if you go out to Lake Ridge,
Oh, so you're saying
Yeah.
instead of carte blanche open every night?
Well, like I'm saying, Darryl White fished for carp only. And he catches them, he weighs them, and puts them back in the water. Getting some big carp out there. I like to fish for trout
How about this, with this, and then we can look at it, how about like one night a month? So that'll give us, August, September, October, and by then, everybody's gonna be too cold, won't fishing night. But that'll give us at least three nights throughout the rest of the fishing season. And that way the police department can,
Yeah, we can
schedule that one night and we can manage it. And then if it grows and people like it, we can look at doing maybe a couple of months or something.
I'll make a motion for that.
All right,
I'll make a motion.
it's gotta pass unanimously,
Okay.
by the way, to move.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Do we want to say, like, let's actually set the dates? I'm more inclined to open it up since it's public land and there's people who have different schedules and like the outdoors. If you go out to Lake Windy and you night fish, there's a lot of people that get to enjoy the facilities. Public land, I'm always in favor of the public being able to use their public land. I do think that the restrictions that the county has, making it from June to September, is reasonable because it keeps it through the warmer months. So my preference personally would be to open it up because it is public land. But if we do set dates and do a prototype, that's fine too. But I'd like to set the hard dates to it so we can advertise it and see what the actual call would be.
To make people go.
Yeah.
And they all got to register and to go.
Okay, so do you want 3 days? Is that what you're looking for?
How about twice a month, Dave?
I go twice a month.
Twice a month?
Well, I would suggest that before we set dates, we let the chief and let Todd check.
We'll bring it back to you. We'll
Yeah.
bring it back to you in August.
Okay,
With
Chief.
2 August dates, two September, 2 October dates.
Chief, you're
Maybe we
making
need
that.
to include the rec department.
Yeah, we'll get everybody,
agree
we'll
with
get the
that,
whole
Chief?
team involved. You got a motion?
I got a
On the
motion.
second, you need to rescind that motion.
Rescind the motion, make the motion for what, two times.
2 nights per month,
It was 3 times.
August and September.
All right, so we rescinded the motion, so now I need a motion
I'll
for
make the
2
motion.
nights. Do I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving 2 nights a month for night fishing, stay so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, stay so by saying nay. All right. So next on the agenda, discuss shirt purchase. Okay.
Okay, it's been a while since we've done this. Matter of fact, it's been several years, but we've provided shirts for each of you to wear to events, whether it be VMA, just different things you go to where you represent the town. This is an example of one that was purchased years ago for a council member. It's just got some engraving on it, council member. So I'm gonna send out an email, and I need shirt size. So, and we'll do all the engraving, and we'll take care of all the shirt size. Just look for that email from Robin. That's all I've got, Mayor.
Thank you. So next is committee discussion.
Okay, there's a lot of topics on the table right now, and in several different atmospheres, not just with council, but a lot of great ideas coming to the surface, a lot of chatter about things that could and possibly happen, but over the next month, I would like to establish a communication level with 2 or 3 different types of committees. And those committees would obviously be formed to recognize the council manager form of government. To work together, unitedly in one direction with the understanding it's a council manager form of government. But one of those committees would obviously be finance committee. And I'll bring you some definitions and quote unquote some bylaws, for lack of a word, but also an EMS committee, and a recreation committee. There are three different committees that I feel like, with the changes that are taking place and which you need to be ready for change. It's inevitable, but this may help facilitate some of the issues that are being spoken about, talked about. So just, you can't have any more than 2 elected officials on those committees. You can, but it just takes a little more effort, a little more energy for staff to try to maintain. So,
You talking about the council being on the committee?
yeah.
Well, okay. What if, and the ifs, I don't like the ifs, but let's say Hankins was on the police committee to get something. Would this be a conflict between council and the committees?
Well, keep in mind, it's a council manager form of government. So the council would work with the committee to communicate to me, and we'd all work together as a team, but those recommendations would ultimately come back to the entire board. So it's just like the planning commission. The planning commission is a very vital group of individuals that digs deep into issues outside of every month council meeting, and they bring recommendations back and they study them. IDA the same way. This is 3 more groups that I feel like I can stay better in touch with council and what their directions may be. So I'm reaching just a little bit here, but I'll bring you some more information back on how I would like to utilize those committees in order to capitalize on the type of government we operate.
Sounds good, thanks, Todd.
That's all I've got.
The next miscellaneous, I didn't see anything. Anybody sign up?
Sharon, she's already spoke.
Should I make a comment? Would that be okay if I may?
$5.
He'll be working. I just wanted to mention one of my employees was in a really bad car accident on his way to work this morning, one of our EMTs on 460. We responded and took him to Tazewell Emergency Department. And they did some scans on him, and he was pretty banged up, and he ended up having a brain bleed, so then we ended up taking him to Roanoke, so we got to keep him.
That's fine. Did they do a red light on it?
No, we transferred him back around by one of our ambulances to Roanoke.
What was his name?
Phil Griffin. Right next to well, he works for
What did it occur at?
Was that at call it?
Was that at Cross
He was there this morning. Right there, cross tie, yeah.
Musk.
I'd say it.
Well, thank you for letting us know. So has anybody signed in, Chief?
Just Sharon, and she's already spoke.
Okay.
Sharon.
So next is our council member comments.
Mr. Day, how's the aqua park and splash pad?
Man, it is a home run. Both of them. That splash pad, that splash pad has got more apparatuses in a small confined area of any splash pad I've ever seen. So we've had a few complaints that we will be trying to address over the next several months. But overall, I'm telling you, it's been a home run. So,
Tracy told me today, they did a day over the weekend that was over $2,000 in one day.
$2,700.
Yeah, Tracy, that's going to be about 2,700, so that's pretty good.
I would go out there, but I gotta get some tanning lotion.
And that's a $5.
I just hate to wear shorts. I do it at home, but I can't do it out there.
That thing has been a big project for us.
It was nice. I mean, I like to get out there early to get it first.
Yeah, you can get out there and you can splash the rain.
But I gotta put some kind of color on my legs.
Don't worry, the sun will do that.
Get you a spray tan, Dave.
Huh?
Get
windshield spray too.
Where's it at?
The bottom.
Well, I don't know, I never had that. I mean, somebody should say something.
Motion to adjourn.
Any discussion? All in favor of adjournment, say so by saying aye.
Joe? You're having visions.
All in favor?